But they recently just made a statement that they found loads of cocaine. I wonder what they did with the cocaine, because they didn't turn it over to the police. They said they found loads of cocaine, razor blades. They said that the sheets were bloody, nasty. They found a whole lot of used condoms.
What's up, guys? You know, I was thinking about this Diddy situation. I talked to a few people, and I seem to think that the reason why their groups are so close is because all of them have a certain type of STD. I think they all got the alphabet. Now, bear with me, guys, because I'm not even trying to cap. I looked at it like this. You know they're not using condoms, right? So if you're in a party not using condoms, it ain't like you could catch something twice, right? You know, so if you already got some, ain't like you can catch it again. So I believe, you know, one of my theories is that these people at these Diddy parties were so close because they all had STDs. And so therefore all the super freaky stuff, it ain't like you could catch something twice. So almost like having a disease is a rite of passage for that group.
You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, Nick was bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. But I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time.
The story of Sean Diddy Combs is unraveling in a way that many never thought possible. What was once whispered behind closed doors is now being brought out into the open through lawsuits, testimonies, and shocking witness accounts. From federal charges of trafficking and racketeering to disturbing details of freak-off parties, every new revelation paints a darker picture of the music mogul's secret life. But the most explosive claims yet come from his former bodyguard, Gene Deal, who says he has the final list of rappers who were infected at Diddy's notorious parties. These are not just random rumors. They are claims tied to court filings, hidden settlements, and years of silence from an industry that looked the other way. So tonight, we break it all down. Diddy's trial is already one of the most high-profile cases in modern entertainment history. Federal prosecutors accuse him of operating more like a criminal kingpin than a music executive. The charges include trafficking, racketeering, and allegations that his companies helped enable and cover up abuse. More than 24 civil lawsuits have been filed, many echoing the same disturbing themes. The plaintiffs describe a system built to lure, exploit, and silence. For years, these stories were dismissed as gossip, but Cassie Ventura's lawsuit in late 2023 broke the dam wide open. Her bravery to come forward showed the world that these whispers had truth behind them. And once her case became public, others began stepping forward, describing freak-offs, coercion, and violence that painted a chilling pattern of behavior.
Following statement, this entire criminal process started when our client, Cassie Ventura, had the courage to file her civil complaint in November 2023. And Kira, we should say that's true. The criminal investigation is largely based on the statements in Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, and intensified, of course, once video from the 2016 hotel security camera became public. The statement from Doug Wigder, her attorney, goes on to say, although the jury did not find Combs guilty of and Cassie beyond a reasonable doubt, she paved the way for a jury to find him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. By coming forward with her experience, Cassie's attorney, Doug Wigder, goes on to say, Cassie has left an indelible mark on both the entertainment industry and the fight for justice. We must repeat with no reservation that we believe and support our client, who showed exemplary courage throughout this trial. She testified for 4 days, often quite emotionally so, giving graphic, explicit detail of what she said she was made to do. And Sean Combs did not deny the facts of the freak-offs. Everything that happened in those hotel rooms did not get challenged by the defense. The defense simply saw it differently, as something that went on in a personal, consensual relationship, not trafficking.
Get into this lawsuit, right? Cassie, she testified that Diddy would force male escorts to urinate in her mouth during freak-offs.
My man, you know, that's a touchy and a difficult subject when you're a man and you have daughters. You understand? And that's why we as men need to play a prominent part in our daughters' lives, because you get men like this that's got this corrupt and devious minds that they don't respect womanhood. You understand? That's some nasty, perverted things that you want to have somebody urinate in the mouth of somebody who gonna be talking to you in your face, who gonna be kissing on you, who gonna be eating food with you. What kind of deviant and crazy mind you have to have somebody do that to somebody that you care about, you supposed to care about, that you supposed to love, man. You know, something is sick about that, brother. You can't tell me that that's some kind of fetish. You know what I'm saying? You know, he didn't outdid R. Kelly with that there, bro, when I heard that. So that's an effed up subject and situation, man, to even imagine that you got somebody doing that to somebody that you supposed to care about and you supposed to be in a relationship with.
Yeah, when I heard that, that was crazy to hear. Disturbing, man.
You can't make this bro. This is made for Triple X TV. The stories that we're hearing about the things that Cassie has done, and we got these people out here believing that, you know, she ain't did this with nobody. I ain't seen not one of her ex-boyfriends. I ain't seen not one of the people that she dated in high school or none of that stuff come out and say that she was doing that way before she got to Diddy. So it is disturbing, bro.
The shockwaves of these lawsuits have reached every corner of the industry, forcing longtime associates to distance themselves from Diddy. What once was considered untouchable power is now being dismantled piece by piece in a courtroom. Reporters are following every detail, while insiders who once stayed quiet are finally being pressured to speak. These lawsuits are not just about one man's actions, but about an entire culture of silence that enabled it. The trial is showing the consequences of unchecked influence. These moments reveal how far Diddy's reach extended, shaping careers, silencing voices, and protecting his empire with fear and manipulation.
I believe she knew he was doing the freak-offs, but do I believe she knew he was allocating different monies to different places and which way it was going, which offshore accounts, which Swiss banks accounts, and all this shit was going in? Nah. I think she just was enjoying the fruits of the labor.
But why you believe she knew about the freak-offs?
Because one of the witnesses said she was there. And do you remember this, bro? Check it out. People tell off on themselves so much, man, and I don't understand when people don't catch it. Diddy has said this. He said, when I give a party, I have to have an ambulance outside of the house. Paramedics ready. That people have to take IVs. Remember the time that him and his mama kissed each other on the lips?
Yeah, I remember that video.
Do you remember that both of them was getting an IV at the same time?
Yeah, I did notice that, yep.
That's from the Diddy freak-off party. And I'm gonna say allegedly.
So let me ask you this. You knowing her at one point, you knowing her personally, is she the kind of person that, you know, would be a part of a freak-off or no?
I think that she liked to party, and she partied with young people. She's always been like that. She always copied or emulated Little Kim and Mary J. Blige, or they emulated her. The blonde hair, the nails, the high boots, the age appropriate, inappropriate clothing that I want to say, because I know people gonna drag me through it. I'm like, what you mean? She's 70, 80 years old. She don't have to wear she can wear hot pants if she want to. Okay.
And so all of a sudden I hear Diddy who's in her bedroom. He's like, yo, babe, come here. And she's like, yeah, no problem, but hold on one second. I have my computer on, my personal information out on my computer. Let me just take it off and I'm coming. Yo, all of a sudden, I just see this big ass bottle of liquor come flying past her face and just hit the wall, bro. It didn't even break, which was crazy, but the hit the wall and fell down. She got scared. He comes out the room, grabs her by her hair, bro, drags her off that chair and drags her into the bedroom. And I just hear, bop, bop, bop. When I tell you to come here, you fucking come. Pop, pop, and she's just screaming, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got crazy goosebumps right now, man. Like, when I was testifying against this, bro, like not in the court, like when HSI first reached out to me about this, I, like, from the day that they started interviewing me all the way up to the point where we was just about to go to trial, bro, every time I told this story, bro, I was having a down, bro. The guilt that I had, bro, because I just remember standing up, I'm gonna kill this and then sitting down like, you're gonna die, bro. You're gonna die, bro. All goons is in the next room, the next apartment right next door, bro. You know what this is, bro. You know who this is. And it's like, yo, like how the what is the right decision in that case, bro? There's gonna be a whole lot of dumbass people that's gonna be like, yo, you supposed to go in there and beat out this dude. Man, please, bro, let me tell you something. He was beating this woman and she kept going back. And I'm not victim blaming, bro, but what I'm saying is there was certain to be two victims in this case, and one of them was probably certain to be excommunicado altogether, and that was me. Especially if I would have attacked that dude, like, there ain't no way it ain't making the news, bro. Cause I was gonna rearrange his face through the rage that was going through me, bro. But you just don't know what to do in that situation, man. I stood up, I sat down, I put my clothes on, I sat back down again. I'm like it's just you don't know what to do, bro. You don't know what to do. And then he has the audacity, fam, to walk out the room like 10-15 minutes later and be like, yo, y'all ready?
On the stand, Cassie Ventura described a life of control and manipulation. Meeting Diddy at just 19, she was soon locked into both a professional and personal relationship with him that blurred every boundary. Her testimony revealed that freak-off parties were not occasional wild nights, but systematic events organized for Diddy's satisfaction. She alleged he forced her into encounters with others while he filmed, and that these were not isolated incidents. Her words made clear that what many thought were exaggerated rumors were in fact orchestrated rituals designed to break down and control. For prosecutors, her testimony is a centerpiece of the case. For Gene Deal, it confirms what he claims to have seen behind the scenes. Her story is important because it validates years of speculation that insiders dismissed. She explained how Diddy's control extended beyond the bedroom and into every aspect of her life, leaving her without freedom or choice. Prosecutors view this as evidence that the freak-offs were not consensual experiments, but organized abuse. Cassie's courage has inspired others to step forward, and her testimony is helping prosecutors create a timeline of exploitation that now serves as the backbone of their case. Her words remind the world that silence enables abuse, and only truth has the power to shatter carefully constructed facades of control.
If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that it's, I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or what we told us happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he needs to see it for himself, man. Maybe he needs to go there and really be involved in some things that could help say some individuals while they going to those parties, or maybe he just going to, man, it's hard to even talk about. Why would you find a religious man, you know, when you know that the saints supposed to separate themselves from the sinners, and why would a religious man like himself be at a party which ain't nothing but sin that's going on, bruh? Whether it's drinking, maybe fornicating, maybe, like I said, men on men, women on women. It's hard to put in perspective unless he's involving himself what is actually going on at the parties. It's hard, brother. Bruh, you know, you can't, I really don't know why, as a spiritual advisor to him, that they buddy while he got a party with him like that and be at his parties. It's got to be, maybe it's something more that meets the eye.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has been speaking out for years. Long before the lawsuits, he hinted at the dark side of the empire he once protected. But now, with the trial exposing new layers, he has come forward with what he says is the final list of rappers who were infected at Diddy's parties. Gene doesn't just speak as an outsider. He was there. He was in the rooms where stars gathered, where rules disappeared, and where silence was bought. According to him, these parties were less about celebration and more about control. Big names in hip-hop and R&B allegedly left with more than just memories. They left with infections that no one dared to talk about publicly. His claims cut into the very heart of the culture, raising questions about how much people knew and how much they chose to ignore. What makes Gene's testimony even more compelling is his willingness to risk his own safety by speaking. He has admitted that exposing these details puts him in danger, but he insists that silence only benefits the powerful. Over the years, he has built credibility as someone who knows the inner workings of Diddy's empire. Now, with the trial bringing fresh attention, his words are gaining new weight. Many believe Gene's revelations could finally dismantle the myths surrounding Diddy's legacy and show how corruption spread. Deal's courage also highlights how truth-tellers are often punished, yet they carry the responsibility of exposing corruption for future generations.
Bruh, those people who was caught at Diddy's party did not know that he had 250 tape recorders in that house. That's a big house. But he had 250 tape recorders in that house that they took, that the feds found. So now with them finding all that and you being at a Diddy party, you know you may have done something that was caught on one of those tapes. You just better pray to God that they don't recognize you. Those people who know that they did something, no, they're not going to speak out. They're not going to say nothing. What part of the game is that? They are not going to come forward and tell on themselves. Nah, not at all. Ice Cube, he said it himself, bro. He said that Diddy's been targeted because of what he said about those folks and those people. Now, the people who was on those tapes may feel like Diddy might be targeting them. Because if he's asked about who is this, who is that, and he's under oath with the federal government, he got to tell them. He's not going to plead the fifth.
Yeah, I know that got to be a terrible feeling, man. You know you did something wrong at Diddy party, and you hoping and praying that it's not caught on tape.
But they don't think they did nothing wrong. That's their lifestyle. That's their lifestyle, bro. I ask guys all the time, if two men lay down, how many homos get up? What you mean? I mean what I mean. It's what it is.
The so-called final list that Gene Deal points to is both shocking and devastating. While he has not publicly named every single person, the whispers surrounding who attended these freak-offs have already circulated for years. These are rappers who built their brands on power, wealth, and untouchable status, only to find themselves entangled in a hidden system of compromise. Deal suggests that some of these rappers contracted infections that were directly tied to Diddy's secret gatherings. To the public, these figures remain icons. Behind the scenes, however, Deal says they lived in fear of exposure, both of their illnesses and their participation. This revelation does more than tarnish reputations. It exposes how deeply the industry's silence ran. Protecting Diddy meant protecting everyone who attended, no matter the cost. This raises troubling questions about the responsibility of these artists. Did they knowingly continue to engage in risky behavior? Were they pressured into silence by fear of being blacklisted? Or were they simply too caught up in the allure of fame to realize the dangers? Gene's suggestion that the infections trace back to Diddy's parties adds urgency to the story. It highlights how an unchecked environment of excess can leave scars that are not only emotional, but physical, reshaping reputations forever. If true, these revelations could permanently reshape hip-hop, forcing accountability and challenging the very credibility of its biggest names.
I don't have no qualms in her defending her son. You got to understand that, man. Miss Janice Combs been around for a long time, and she's a trendsetter. Where you think Little Kim, Mary J. Blige, and the rest of them get that blonde hair from? She popped up in the club with the blonde hair, the nails, the eyelashes, way before they was doing it. You know, people used to think that she was Lil' Kim mama, or Lil' Kim was trying to be her daughter, because they used to say they look alike. But I don't have no qualms in her defending her son. That's what she's supposed to do, man. And if she didn't, I would look different at her. And, you know, like I said, I don't blame her, man. You know, I really don't blame her. I remember a time like, and this when I stopped working for Diddy, is that we was in the office and she's just come at me, and it wasn't in a way in which you do and a person that's there to protect your son. You know what I'm saying? She's just always bothered me for whatever reason. You know, people laugh and joke and say that when I say this back in the day, you know, I'm 6'7", 30 in the waist, handsome in the face. You understand? She used to come at me a certain way that it made Puff real mad this particular day. And I don't know what happened. I'm outside the office and he got Justin there. So my responsibility is him and Justin, nobody else. I don't give a goes on in that office, what happens, stuff like that. My responsibility is him and Justin. That's it. Now they got interns, they got everybody walking around the office the whole 9 yards. She said, yo, Gene, I need you to go to my car. You know, I said, go to your car? She said, yeah, I got some food in my car. I want you to go get it. I said, I'm not here for that. I ain't here for that. I'm not going to get your food. She was like, why everybody do what I tell them to do except you? I said, because I don't work for you. I said, I don't work for you. Why are you always ask me when you got all these interns around here to do like that? And Puff must have heard something. Puff came out that door. Why you always messing with Gene? Leave Gene alone. He was talking to his mother like this. He was like, yo, leave Gene alone. You always messing with Gene. Stop it.
One of the most surprising names to come up in Deal's claims is Janice Combs, Diddy's mother. According to him, even she had knowledge of the freak-off lifestyle. While not directly accused of participating, Gene claims she was aware of what her son was orchestrating and chose silence over intervention. This paints a picture of complicity that extends beyond business, associates, and into the family itself. If true, it suggests that Diddy's empire was not just tolerated by those on his payroll, but also overlooked by those closest to him. It raises a haunting question. If even family chose not to stop him, How much power did he really hold over everyone in his circle? These allegations complicate the narrative of Diddy as simply a powerful man shielded by money and fame. They suggest that his control may have extended into his household, where loyalty became silence. Gene's claims about Janice Combs add another layer of moral responsibility, making the situation even more disturbing. If family members knew yet did nothing, then the web of protection around Diddy was even stronger than people imagined. This is why Deal's words carry so much weight. It suggests silence was not only professional but personal, and complicity stretched beyond business into family loyalty that ignored morality.
Diddy was at this party?
Mm-hmm.
Denzel Washington was at this party?
Yep.
Birdman was at this party?
Yes, he was.
And Young Jock?
Yep.
And you're telling me Denzel was there and it was after 1 o'clock when he supposedly left?
And beanie, socks, and a gold chain.
So you're telling me Denzel Washington was butt naked, he had a beanie on, socks on, and a gold chain, and that's it. In front of children.
Yep.
Funny. Because he sure portrays himself to be holier than thou.
Yep. So a lot of them do.
I think you also told me that one of those men have a birthmark.
Left thigh.
So one of those men have a birthmark on their left thigh.
I've been a party favor at a few parties. And I'm gonna rewind a little bit. After a certain point of being traumatized, after a certain point of realizing that nobody loved me for me and just for what I could do, or whatever the fact that it was, what people thought about me when I was a little kid, I was naive like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So after a certain point, I didn't give a damn who did what. I just wanted to be seen. And I know that a lot of people can say, yeah, there's times where a point in your life where you're just like, I just want somebody to give a damn. I just want somebody to see me, and I just want somebody to love me. Okay? So I was there a lot because I've been abused a lot. And after a certain point, I went really numb, didn't care. A lot of people that were with me called me a traitor because they felt like I just left. I'd be mad at me too because I stopped giving a about anything. I didn't care. It all just.
One of the biggest takeaways from Gene Deal's revelations is how the entertainment industry collectively stayed silent. Record labels, managers, artists, executives, and collaborators all saw pieces of the truth. They saw bruises, breakdowns, and bizarre parties. Yet the money was too good, and Diddy's influence too strong. Speaking out meant risking careers, contracts, and sometimes safety. For many, it was easier to pretend nothing was happening. This silence allowed Diddy to keep operating his alleged freak-offs for decades, pulling in both rising stars and established icons. Now, with Deal's words and Cassie's testimony, the wall of silence is cracking. But the question remains, why did it take this long for the truth to come out? The reality is that the music business thrives on power hierarchies. Those who spoke out against influential figures often found themselves blacklisted, while those who played along were rewarded. This dynamic created an environment where Diddy could act without accountability. Industry insiders are now scrambling to rewrite history, claiming ignorance. But the damage has been done. Silence protected the powerful for decades, and now it is finally unraveling under the weight of public exposure and legal consequences. The industry's delayed response exposes how power shields abusers, proving that profit often outweighs justice until the truth becomes undeniable.
Why do you believe that Jay and Puffy is close, even though Jay's lawyer came out and said they're not?
Because Jay-Z and Puff was given an assignment. And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother. is that New York rappers was getting 80 to 100, 800 to 1.2 million, or some larger than that, and sign with labels back then. And they was getting a lot of money to make albums and records. When they had guys down south that these labels was paying $250,000, $300,000 on record deals, and these guys was bringing back platinum albums and everything like that. So what they had to do was, they had to keep New York rappers down. That's one reason, other than the Irv God that 50 was going through and the poison they was putting in about 50, he had to go elsewhere to California, or with Jay and not with Dre and Eminem to get a deal. They did not want East Coast rappers to get big. They were suppressing all new artists that was coming out of New York. Jay and Diddy was doing that. That's why when I heard your story, because I knew this for a long time, but when I heard Dame Dash that Jay wouldn't sign off on nothing, Jay wouldn't do this and Jay would that, because he couldn't let a Cameron blow up. He couldn't let an East Coast rapper like Beanie Siegel blow up. Because him and Diddy was giving that deal, we gotta keep these East Coast rappers down.
If Gene Deal's list proves accurate, the fallout could shake hip-hop to its core. We are talking about legendary names, rappers with global fan bases, suddenly linked to Diddy's most disturbing secrets. For the culture, it would be devastating. Hip-hop has always thrived on the image of authenticity and resilience. But what happens when its biggest stars are revealed to be victims of manipulation or complicit in silence? What happens when the community realizes that infections spread not just biologically but symbolically, contaminating the very legacy of the music? This is the ripple effect that Deal warns about, and it is why his words hit harder than most. Fans are already debating what this means for the future of the genre. Can the music still hold the same weight if its creators are revealed to be compromised? For younger generations, hip-hop has been a source of truth and identity. If that foundation is shown to be built on exploitation, it forces a cultural reckoning. The industry will have to answer difficult questions about its role in protecting Diddy and whether hip-hop's legends can ever regain the trust of the people. This could become the biggest cultural reckoning in hip-hop history, forcing truth, accountability, and a new standard for future generations.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back.
Sean Diddy Combs built his empire on power, control, and secrecy. But now, the secrecy is unraveling. Cassie's testimony has laid bare the truth about freak-offs. Federal prosecutors are painting him as the leader of a criminal organization. And Gene Deal, the man who once guarded him, is exposing the rappers who may have carried infections from those very parties. Whether the industry wants to admit it or not, this is a turning point. The silence is ending, and the truth is being forced into the light. The only question is, when all the names are finally revealed, will hip-hop survive the fallout? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. And until then, fam, keep it real.